So there's a big article that just came out on the internet about sunscreen and sun cancer and talking about how sunlight is so essential for us and sunscreen doesn't do anything for us and even can make it worse and actually increase the chances of getting skin cancer. Very controversial article, went viral, and it brought up some really important topics which I want to talk about. The first is sunlight in general. Now, sunlight is essential for producing vitamin D, which the body needs to reduce inflammation, and in reducing inflammation, help you lose weight. So you really need sunlight, you need vitamin D. Now, everybody knows or believes also that you should use sunscreen to block out the sun to protect you against cancer. Now, this is the controversial part. This is the part I want to talk about. So there's a conflict of interest here. On the one hand, you need sunlight. On the other hand, you're supposedly supposed to protect yourself against sunlight and its harmful effects and the possibility of getting skin cancer. This article called Scientists Blow the Lid Off of Cancer and Sunscreen Myths brings up some interesting studies. For example, a study that followed 30,000 women over 20 years showed that the mortality rate was double in women who avoided sun exposure compared to the highest exposure group. That is, that the people that were the real sun worshipers had half as much likelihood of dying as the people that avoided sun at all cost. So already it's showing a link between the essential aspects of sunlight and health and longevity. It talks about another study in 2011 that showed that vitamin D that you get from sunlight actually helps prevent skin cancer. And that makes sense because cancers can grow in an inflammatory environment, and vitamin D is anti-inflammatory. So it makes sense that the more vitamin D you have in your body, the less likely you are to have skin cancer. And I just want to talk about cancer in general and how to protect yourself. The first line of protection against cancer, in my opinion, is mind-body health, reducing stress, eating more live foods and less processed foods. And the reason is because when you have less stress in your body, you're more able to repair the cells in your body when they mutate, because your adrenal glands produce two types of hormones. One are stress hormones and the other are reparative hormones, and they're only ever going to produce one or the other. So when you're in a chronic state of stress like most of us, you're only ever producing stress hormones and you're not producing reparative hormones, which means that when your cells mutate, which is what causes cancers, then you're not able to repair those mutations. But if you reduce stress, you start producing the reparative hormones, and then when you have mutations, which happen all the time, from sunlight, from toxins, from all types of things, your body can repair itself. So the best thing you can do to prevent cancer is to live a low-stress life or to manage stress properly. Another great thing you can do is eat more real live foods because they're higher in antioxidants, which then neutralize free radicals, and free radicals are the types of things that cause mutations in your cells that lead to cancerous growth. So you want to be able to reduce free radicals. That's by having lots of alkaline foods, which are green juices and greens in general. And less processed foods, because cancers live off of processed sugars and starches, so most of our diets are very high in processed grains and sugars. That's what cancers live off of. So when you look at a normal person, they're producing stress hormones all the time, so they're not repairing their cells. They're producing free radicals all the time through the toxins that they're eating and also through sunlight and other stresses, and those toxins are creating mutations, and then those mutations cause cancers, which then live off of the junk food that we eat, and that's why we're getting cancer. So when you reverse that so that you have a low stress life, you're having lots of antioxidants to reduce free radicals, and you're not eating the foods that cancers live off of, then the cancers are not growing. So that's your first line of defense in protecting against cancers. Then having lots of vitamin D in your system from sunlight and from healthy food sources will reduce inflammation, which then is also another powerful way to prevent cancer. Because as I said before, when you're in an inflammatory environment in your body, that's when cancer can spread. This article also talks about a dermatologist named Bernard Ackerman, MD, who says that there's no real link between melanoma and sun exposure. according to him. He says that that link is unproven. There's no conclusive evidence that sunburns lead to cancer. There's no real proof that sunscreens protect against melanomas. It also goes on to talk about how sunscreens have lots of toxins in them, and tests have revealed that 97% of Americans have toxic chemicals in their blood from sunscreens. Some professionals have even raised the argument that it's the toxins in the sunscreens that can produce the cancers, because the toxins interact with the ultraviolet rays of the sun, producing mutations, which then form cancers. So there's a lot of gray areas here. One thing we know for sure, we need sunlight. So what's the best way to get sunlight? I recommend that, number one, as I said, you live a healthy life from a mind-body perspective so that you can protect yourself against the harmful possibilities of getting cancers. That's the first thing. Number two, get some safe, good sun. Maybe some morning sun or some afternoon sun. 15 minutes a day is great. You want to expose your body to it, but just 15 minutes. You don't want to burn. 15 minutes is great. If you do use sunscreens, I recommend that rather than using the conventional sunscreens that are loaded with toxins, you use simply zinc oxide, which you can get at a health food store, and nothing else, and that's a good sun protector, and only if you're spending all day out in the sun and you're going to run the risk of getting too much sun exposure. So I'm going to continue to do research on the subject, and I recommend you do the same. And any information that you have, post it down here. I'd love to hear it, or any thoughts or ideas that you have. But in the meantime, understand that sunlight is essential. Try to get some sunlight every day, and protect your body in other healthy ways by learning how to manage and reduce stress, eating more healthy live greens, and finding alternatives to processed food and junk food. So that's it for now. Let me know what you think, and we'll speak soon. Take care.